Hey, welcome back for another episode of Porn Rewire, the podcast with me, Dr. Trish Leigh. In this episode, we are going to talk about getting through the holidays without porn. And if you're getting through something, you are surviving. So we are going to talk about the transition from survival mode to thrive mode. And it is essential to understand this is a transition because one brain pattern is dysfunctional, survival mode. The other is optimal. So this is really the journey of dysfunctional brain pattern to optimal brain pattern. It's a journey of surviving to thriving, a journey of self-soothing to not needing to self-soothe and to know how to do it in healthy ways if you really need to, and a journey from the lower S self, the one who is not on purpose, the one who's not committed to figuring out how to live the very best life for you. It's the transition from that little S self all the way over here to the big S self, your true authentic self of self-actualization. What self-actualization means is you are on a journey of meeting all of your basic needs in a way that you no longer have to survive, so you can dedicate your resources, your time, your energy, and your money to figuring out what you were put on this earth to do and to contribute and to serve and to do it, to commit to it, to get excited about it, to show up for it, no matter what other people think. Just like me. I did not know when I was a youngin' that I would be so jazzed up to help people not watch porn, because I see that it's the number one way that I can contribute to this world. Every person who gives up watching porn, what happens is that person ends up dedicating their life back to their purpose in their work, in their people, and in their hobbies. And in doing so, I'm able to help each person make a massive ripple effect in their own life, which creates a massive positive change across the world. Literally, I feel like I can help change the world and improve it one brain at a time. And that's why I'm excited to be here in this podcast with you. That's what I want you to get so excited about on January 2nd. So, if you are interested in that short course program, we are offering it for $19.99. It's over 40% off. It's typically over $33. So get it while the price is slashed during this first week of moving towards December 1st and the first week of December. So get into the program. Join me for the live meeting on January 2nd. And enjoy this podcast if you're not interested in any of those two things, because this podcast is going to be similarly themed. So let's get back to what we're going to talk about here. Number one, we're going to talk about why you might need a program and why many people have difficulty with the holidays if they're wrapped up in a porn habit. The way that I think about it is it's difficult to engage. Engagement in the real world with family and with tradition can be really difficult if your brain has been conditioned to go back into the screen for high levels of dopamine. Remember, at the core of a porn issue is a dopamine dependency from sexual media. So when you're in the screen, your brain gets a large amount of dopamine. Unfortunately, what that means is when you're back in your life, especially at holiday time, where you're overspending and you have extra quality time with all the people who you love, but they might also irritate you, that is a dopamine deficiency. We know there's a dopamine deficit in the world if you've conditioned your brain to go into the screen. So now it's time to engage in your life without the time you may have dedicated to porn, or you might feel like you need to double down on that habit just to get through these days that have more to them. So we're going to talk about why that's difficult. What's the deal with engagement, and why does it make it so that your brain, number two, we're going to talk about your brain pattern. what happens in your brain pattern with the engagement piece at holiday time and when you go into the screen. So we're going to talk about why is holiday time more difficult, secondarily what it does to your brain, and number 3 is your brain hack strategy for the day. So we're going to talk about what can you do to engage and make it feel better for you while you're staying out of the screen. So let's talk about holiday time. Now, we talked last week about guilt, and we talked about how guilt and grief and shifting that to gratitude and how that can be so important moving into holiday time. I want to touch upon that for a second. I promise it won't be for 29 minutes like it was last week. Just for a second, thinking about much of what we learned about the holidays came from our inherited thought. Obviously, inherited thought's been on my mind a lot lately. Traditions are the traditions of your family, your parents, your siblings, your grandparents before you. Traditions are established and passed down, and unless you get intentional about it, you might be, living out somebody else's intention. So, number one, in the brain hack, what I'm going to want you to do is stop and think all these things that you're engaging in are they the things that you really want, and why? So get your journal out, get your pleather journal out, and think to yourself, we're moving into holiday time. What is it that I want? And I call that reverse engineering the dream. You think about this holiday season, what the most important things would be for you. What do you want out of it? What feelings do you want? All the purchasing we do, all the meals we plan, everything we do comes back to a feeling that we want to derive. So if you're overspending to buy your little ankle biters, as I call my children sometimes, my daughter loves when I call the kids ankle biters. When you're trying to buy your precious children more than they need, what feeling is that giving you? It's likely that you want to feel like a good parent who can provide a wonderful holiday for your kids. But you can provide a wonderful holiday for your kids without overspending. Don't get me wrong, I struggle with this one every single year. And there's been some years where my husband's ordered double what we already had for the kids on Christmas Eve. There's one funny year when all the kids were still really engaged in Santa and they were all excited for Santa to come. And it was actually right when we moved into this home, our house, and my office space was unfinished attic. And I had put the Christmas presents in here and it was covered with one of those moving blankets because we had just moved in 2 months before Christmas. And they came up here to show some of our new neighbors out the window right there. You can see far, you can see a lake, and then you can see lights on the other side of the lake. And the kids would always call it the Raleigh lights, even though it's not Raleigh. So they would call it the Raleigh lights, and they came up here to show some of the neighborhood kids the Raleigh lights, and they inadvertently stepped on the pile of Christmas gifts. And that was the gifts that were intended for Christmas morning, if you know what I mean. And so then we did have to rebuy gifts, and they got double that year because that was the pile from the parents instead of that magically arrived on Christmas Day. But, do they need double the amount? No, and especially as they become young adults and I'm trying to teach them how to have healthy value spending habits, it's important to keep all of this stuff in check. So your time, your money, and your energy, those are your resources. And I try to be really intentional on where I put those resources. Time, money, energy. Energy can be your mental energy, your emotional energy, your physical energy. So, for example, it's before Thanksgiving, so I'm not going to pretend it's not, even though I'm recording this for next week. So I'm hosting Thanksgiving, and when my husband offered to host Thanksgiving, I'm like, no. I am not hosting Thanksgiving because I do not have the bandwidth to entertain 20 plus people. I just don't. And Thanksgiving morning is one of my favorite traditions ever. And I got this tradition from when I was young, but nobody else in my family of origin has it. This is a me thing. This is a Trish thing. I love to watch the Thanksgiving Day parade. Love it. Honestly, I make breakfast during it and all that, but I just love it as a family tradition. And since my kids were little, they get up and they'll watch it with me. And it's such nice family time. We hang out together and we coffee clutch, and it always ends up being funny. We have the cutest video of Fiona and Saoirse doing the rocket kick from a couple years ago. Just literally adorable. Such nice time that we spend together. I love it. So the Hubs offers up to host Thanksgiving with our friends. Friendsgiving, we call it, of course. And I'm like, no way, man, because I am not spending the entire Thanksgiving morning, which is my favorite time to chill and hang with the fam. I'm not spending that making Thanksgiving dinner for 20 people. No. So, of course, the friends get wind of this and they know how I am. They know I will protect things that are important to me. They know Thanksgiving morning is important to me. Hence, I am protecting it. They know I, of course, want to spend Thanksgiving evening with them, but I first and foremost have to protect that time with my precious children, some of which are away at college. I haven't seen one of my precious daughters in over a month and a half since she started school. She's going to be home with us. A friend of ours we haven't seen in years, he's staying with us. He's coming in. Morning protected. So all my besties have offered to bring most of the food. And of course, I always make a ton of food. We're going to have a plethora of food, but all the besties are bringing the food to lighten the load, and everyone wants to spend Thanksgiving in our home since it's been rebuilt with our family, which is so wonderful. But I had to protect that time because it's important to me. But then I get to be able to spend the evening time with them here. And honestly, my bestie always hosts Thanksgiving, so it is definitely time. I'm due because I haven't done it in a couple of years. But it's going to be amazing. So the idea is I'm setting the intention what I want for Thanksgiving. I do the same for Christmas. Now check out this one. Okay. We have gotten a real Christmas tree since the Hubs and I got together. So we're probably on like 25 years. I never had a real Christmas tree growing up. We always had kind of a crappy, sorry mom and dad, crappy fake tree. So I learned to kind of loathe the fake tree. Remember the fake trees of old where I would have to go up in our attic, which is a crawl space in my bedroom. You had to like literally crawl through it. So only short, small people could fit up there. So that was my job. And it was all itchy because it was filled with fiberglass insulation. I would go up there. It was the arms, and the arms, the tips were metal and they had different colors. Some were red, some were green, yellow. And then you would have to line it up and put it into this fake tree trunk. And voila, you had a terrible looking fake tree. That's what I grew up with. So when the Hubs and I got together, we started this tradition of going to these amazing tree farms and picking out a tree. We would cut it down ourselves, bring it home. It would be a 3-day process of putting the tree up. The Hubs would have to water it all the time. Sometimes it would need to be trimmed. Man, there's a lot of stories around the real tree because sometimes they were way too big because that's how he rolls. Anyways, tons of work. So, segue to this year when I'm like, dude, to the Hubs, I don't think we should get a real tree anymore. We got the most amazing tree from Costco. It is huge. I won't even tell you how big it is because it's embarrassing, but it's artificial, but it looks real. The trunk looks real. The branches look real. All you do is stand this baby up, and it's got like 50 LED modes. You can dim the lights all the way down to a really dim. You can brighten them up. The thing is amazing. It's been in the foyer for about 2 weeks now. It's totally amazing. But I said to the kids, "Are you guys okay getting a fake tree because it's the most awesome tree ever?" All of them besides one wanted to get the fake tree. They're like, it's new times. It's time to transition after the crazy last year. One of my sons, Seamus, he really wanted to go cut the tree down because it's an awesome tradition. We always go the Friday after Thanksgiving. So it would be this Friday because right now it's the Monday before Thanksgiving. So we switched it. So now we have the fake tree, which is totally awesome. He loves it now too. But on Friday, instead of it taking 3 days to prep the tree, and actually we've lost the kids the last couple of years. They haven't even helped me decorate. They're going to help decorate on Friday morning, and we're going to do it all together. So it's really fun to have a new tradition. Traditions have to change with the times and with what you want. So after the year that we've gone through, we don't want an exposed water source all winter long, and we don't want water damaged floors for obvious reasons, right? So those two things were like, let's get this awesome tree. It'll be a cool investment. We'll have it. And we also don't have to move our 1,000-pound furniture because we have 1,000-pound furniture to put the tree in. Everybody's happy, and we've built a new tradition. And that's really fun and exciting. Another tradition that we do is we burn our lists for Santa. My husband, I don't know, he learned this in Ireland. He's from Ireland. So the kids would make their list. And once you burn the list, the smoke goes to Santa at the North Pole. So the list can't be changed. It's a very cool tradition. So now that the kids are in college, we normally don't do that for a couple more weeks. We're going to do it when they're home for Thanksgiving. We have to roll with the punches on this tradition because we want to be able to involve them, and it's going to morph over the next couple of years also, and we are okay with morphing it because this is what I want for the holidays. I want lovely time with my family. Bottom line. Do I care what tree we have? No, but it's going to reduce the work about 1,000,000%, which is why we want lovely time with our family where we don't require them to do anything, and we want to reduce the amount of work around holiday time for ourselves because of being in a new place after the last couple crazy years. To the same extent, we had someone come and hang lights. So it's time, money, and energy. So instead of having to purchase all new lights because we had to get rid of them and spend the time hanging them up, there's a company that hangs them up for you, stores them, and comes back. And actually, when you look at the value behind it, it's actually a really good value in purchasing it. So that's been amazing. We're going to light this baby up. The Hubs hasn't wanted to, but it's time, man. We're lighting this baby up tonight, whether he likes it or not. Traditions are flowing. So what do we want? I want a chill holiday. I don't want to run around like a chicken with her head cut off like I have done for approximately 20 years. So going back to you, what do you want this holiday season? And figure it out for yourself. Set the intention. I've shared with you a couple of podcast episodes before that I have the intention of hibernating this winter. I'm doing a bang up job of hibernating. My friends are like, you want to go here? Sorry, friends, no, I'm hibernating. Do you want to go there? Nope, hibernating. I've hardly done all the things that they've done because I want to hibernate so that I can have a really chill winter of continuing to heal and recover on the tail end of some crazy years. And winter's the perfect time to do that. And I'm sticking to my guns on that one. So it's been amazing because that's my intention. More rest, more recovery, more downtime. The only way to get that is to say no to things in my life because it's very busy. It's incredibly busy. My son just said to me, Declan just said to me, seems like you have to manage your time better. That's what he says. I gave him a look. I'm like, it's not about time management. It's about there are too many things on the plate. Sometimes some things have to come off. And that's a skill. Looking at my plate and going, you know what? For right now, some social things have to come off for more rest and recovery because there's not time for both of them. And recognizing that, but then reverse engineering the dream. Right now, if I was in double down social mode, I'd be committing to those and I'd be letting the rest and recovery go on the back burner, which I've done before, for sure. So that's not what I'm doing right now. Okay, so why does holiday time get so stressful? It gets stressful because of all of these factors, and many people think they have to do all of them all of the time and that they can't say no to things, or they will think they want certain things and not realize they're supposed to want those, but they might not actually want those. So, for example, I don't love to shop. I don't love to go to the mall. I don't love to go to the store. I'm totally happy buying everything online. There's other people who love to go shopping. So realizing what you want and then being happy to do the thing that you want, whether other people like the opposite of what you like, that is the intention I'm talking about. And if you can stick to those things, there's no need to go into the screen and self-soothe. So figuring out spending's one issue that happens at holiday time that is a major stressor. So let's talk about these. Think about your finances and your spending. Figure out how much you're going to spend on the holidays and stick to it. Don't overspend. Overspending is the number one stressor when it comes to holiday time. Resources, time, energy, money. That's money. Number two, time. There's only so much time. So figuring out the things that you want to do this holiday season. Now for me, there's lots and lots of opportunities, and I have to figure out the opportunities that I want to go to. For other people, you might have to create those opportunities. And so for me, what I want to do is create more of the opportunities that I'm looking for this year and not go to the opportunities that I don't. So for example, I don't want to go to as many parties where I'm standing around fake talking to people, which exhausts me, drinking cocktails that I don't want to put in my body, eating food that I'm not that interested in. The whole thing is bad for my brain and my life, and I find it exhausting. It's fun sometimes though. So a little bit with my besties, totally down for. I'm going to intentionally seek that out and create it. But like last year we went ice skating. I had the best time ice skating with my besties and our kids. It was so lovely. And I went one time and we said we were going to go again. We never did. We need to go again this year because it was really, really fun. We've gone and built gingerbread houses in the past with our friends and our kids. Such lovely family time. More daytime activities, less late night activities for me. That is my decision making process this year. And I'm going to plan some of them. So think about what you need to do. When it comes to engagement, figure out which things you want to engage in. And we're going to transition to your brain in just a second, but figure out which things you want to engage in, which things you don't. It doesn't align with the intention that you're setting. It's not aligned action towards reverse engineering the dream of the holidays that you want. So if you want to chill and watch the parade, you have to make sure you're not hustling to be somewhere at noon because they are not congruent. Aligned action is not having everybody over till 3 p.m. and having them bring the food like I'm doing. And that's amazing to me. I'm very excited about it now that it's worked out in a really aligned way of the dream of what I want to create this year. And my daughter called. She's like, do I need to sleep there the night before Thanksgiving? Our friend's coming into town. I'm like, no, you don't. You can show up on Thanksgiving Day. Again, I'm not making her do what she doesn't want to, and she'll show up and she'll be glad to be here. So just thinking about these things before you react in an old way. You can react in a new way and get the holiday that you want. Okay, now let's talk about engagement, and we'll use it as the transition into what your brain is doing. Engagement. Why is engaging in holiday time difficult for many people? And I've heard this from many partners too, that they are aware, they might not even be aware that there's a porn habit in the mix with their husband or their boyfriend, but they are aware that parties and family time and especially holidays are difficult for their partner. And they don't get why. But the reason why is what I already told you. If the dopamine's in the screen, there's a dopamine deficit in a holiday party. It becomes a stressor because of the 4D cycle of hypersexuality and porn. Not because of anything you're doing, just the brain conditioning is back into the screen to feel good. Party time, very difficult. So as you come out of the screen, you can expect social anxiety to decrease. You can expect that holiday time to be so much nicer, especially if you're intentional about it and you're not, going to your Aunt Marge's house that you don't want to go to. It is okay to say no to that one. And you call or you FaceTime Aunt Marge's instead. And yes, you might disappoint some people, but you're going to show up for yourself. You're not going to disappoint yourself anymore. You're going to honor your own needs over other people's needs in a healthy way when you figure that out. Then you go to spend holiday time with your family or with your people, your besties. You can enjoy it and be all in, knowing this is your new tradition and you engage. And again, on year one or this year, if you're still wrapped up in porn, it might be tricky, but give yourself some strategies. We're going to talk about strategies in your brain hack for the day. The idea is engage. Approach and engage and stay connected. And when you do that, that's the happiness trifecta. It's dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. But it's dopamine at lower levels than you would get in the screen. So it's not going to feel the same. It's not going to hit like your porn habit does. But when you condition yourself now, you rewire yourself to enjoy that holiday time, It's going to feel different to you, and you're going to start enjoying just being able to hang out with your people again. You're not going to need the high highs, which means you're not going to have the low lows, and you're going to hit that middle, which takes us to your brain. What's your brain doing when it's wrapped up in this cycle? Well, if you've heard me talk before, you know that your brain is in a wired and tired mode if you're caught up in the 4D cycle of porn or hypersexuality. What that means is it's using too much fast energy and too much slow energy simultaneously. It makes your brain feel wired, anxious, stressed, difficult to engage, and tired, which is also difficult to engage. So this wired and tired brain wants to go back into the screen to feel good, because again, that's where it's been wired to go. Neurons that fire together, wire together. Hebb's law drives it back into the screen. But when you disrupt that with anti-Hebbian learning, and now you don't go into the screen, but instead you engage with your people, you double down on your work in a way that you like this holiday season, and you spend time doing your hobbies, you're teaching your brain to go to your life to get dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. But there's going to be a rewire period there that it might feel uncomfortable or different for you. So that's why I offer the holiday program to help you keep moving forward, so that as you feel different, because rewiring should feel different, as you feel different, you can stay the course and get yourself to January 2nd, where you commit all in to creating this in your life. And I just got an email from a gentleman in the military saying that my videos online have helped him to come out of the screen and get back into his relationship. And he can't believe how much more connected and attracted to his wife he is. That is an ancillary benefit of this journey. You feel so much more connected, and you want to be with your partner. You want to be in your life instead of escaping from it. And holidays can be overwhelming. They're a lot. And we also know at this time of year, there's more seasonal affective disorder than any other time of the year. It's cold, it's dark. That's why hibernating is perfect. It feels isolating. I'm finishing, you've heard me say that I'm reading Matthew Perry's book after he's just passed. I actually finished it. It was really, really good. And he keeps talking about how addiction wants to isolate you. And in the isolation, the addiction is bred and it's strengthened. So the solution to that is not going into isolation. It's connecting. It's staying connected at holiday time. There's no need to be isolated. There's so many different ways you can connect. You can connect with your family. You can connect with your neo family, your friends. You can connect with a community that is like-minded. There's meetups in every single town. If you struggle with sex addiction, you can get into SA and you can connect to people there. There are people like you who are struggling with sexual behaviors. So you might find camaraderie there. There's so many ways that you can get connected. Get a job that you like and start getting connected to your cronies at work. It's really powerful. When you feel connected, you realize you're not in this thing alone. And then it's easier to engage. So then your brain that's in that wired and tired pattern, it slowly starts to shift into that medium middle speed mode. And of course, if you want to make that shift happen faster, I have a program called Brain Training 101. It's only $49. It teaches you how to use the brain training headband. And I will try to remember to put a link at the bottom of this podcast. But train your brain. Training your brain is like a workout for your brain every single day. It takes it out of the wired and tired mode and brings it closer into the optimal mode. Just like a workout. You put it on for a workout session. You start with 5 minutes and it starts to work your brain towards that medium speed, making it less needing to go into the screen to self-soothe and to self-stimulate. Okay, so that's why holiday time is so difficult, and that's what it does to your brain. Now, your brain hack strategy for today is, and I've already started to mention them, but let's say it very explicitly. Get your journal out, and number one, think about your personal holidays. It's different for all people. So, for me, it's Christmas, Thanksgiving, New Year's. We always have a New Year's party. I spend them all with my best friends. I don't typically go home to see my parents or my siblings. And when I say I don't typically, that means I've lived here for 10 years and I've never gone home. But what I did this year, because I felt disconnected from everybody, I think I've told you this before, I went back to Buffalo, New York, where I'm from, and I spent time with my parents and all of my siblings, which was really, really cool. So I can actually go into holiday time not seeing them or connecting in a much more peaceful way, which is really important for me, which is why I went twice. I went for my parents' anniversary and my mom's 80th birthday. I showed up for those two. I'm staying here and showing up for me during holiday time. And there's been a couple of years where my parents came down here a while ago. Nightmare. They're not even welcome down here and they know it. They can't come anymore. But it was so draining on me and my whole family that that's not a thing we'll be doing ever again. So I'm staying, local yokel with my kids and my besties, and it's so wonderful. It's so wonderful when we do that. So, what do you want your holidays to look like? In your journal, spend a few minutes, put it down, get intentional. And remember what I said at the beginning, it all goes back to feelings. So, on Christmas morning, what's the feeling that you want? For me, it's joy. Joy isn't pleasure. Joy is more serotonin, oxytocin, with some dopamine. I don't need there to be a rocket ship under the Christmas tree. All I need is an hour hanging with my peeps and having them enjoy opening some gifts and laughing, whatever weird thing will happen, spending time together. That's what I want. Joy. So if I'm going to get joy, I have to set myself up for a joyful experience. And now my kids are young adults. My youngest is 13. Back in the day, Christmas started at 6 a.m. These days it starts later. I'm definitely not complaining after 20, almost 20 years of 6 a.m. Christmases. So it's wonderful. So I'm not waking everybody up. When they wake up and when we engage in it, if it's at 10 this year, awesome. If it happens to be 6, awesome also. We'll go with the flow on it and we'll let it happen organically like you can. I did that Elf on the Shelf for 20 years. Alarms in my phone. It just said move or it said important issue so that the kids wouldn't know, because I forgot that dang elf a whole bunch of times. Elf on the Shelf is fun if you do it for 5 years. If you have to do it for 20 years, it's exhausting. It became an exhausting Christmas habit. 2 years ago was the first time. So this is the second year, but last year I was pretty sick. So this is the second year that I didn't have to do the Elf on the Shelf. It's amazing. But I did it. I sucked it up for those years for my precious children. So there's sometimes an element of that. You got to do some things that maybe you don't want to, but you will want to looking back. And so that's the intention. Like if you're going to do Elf on the Shelf, set the alarm for 5:30 a.m. every day to be successful at Elf on the Shelf so that you can feel good about it instead of feeling bad about it. Remember, neuroscience shows that when your brain is rewarded for something, it will search down that reward more and more into the future. So when you go into the screen, you're rewarding your brain for going there. But if you reward your brain for going to place that elf in the pantry, eating the Cocoa Puff stuck in the box, if you reward yourself for that, you're going to keep going back for that because that's what you've trained your brain to do, to get the reward from your life, from looking at the joyful face on your child when she or he sees that elf stuck in the Cocoa Puffs box. The very best one I probably did was, I found it online. The elf had a toothpick with a tiny marshmallow, and I found another little stuffed animal of my daughter's, and you put it over a candle, like the elf is hanging out with some buddies at a fire. It was great. That was probably one of my best ones. And you toasted the marshmallows so it looked like the marshmallows were toasted. Super cute. And deriving some joy. One of our favorite things to do is just to hang out by the Christmas tree. And my husband said about this new Christmas tree, we'll be spending more time in the dining area because it's next to the Christmas tree, which is really cool. That's the intention, downtime for me. Think of what your intention is and then aligned action of creating it. You won't get it willy-nilly. You'll get it because you align your action with it. Then what it does is it keeps your brain in that medium speed. You're not swinging back and forth from wired to tired, wired to tired. Instead, you can stay in the middle of peace and feeling calm, knowing you're engaging in the things that are important to you. And when you do that, you're going to feel 1,000,000% better and you're not going to need to go back into the screen. So figure out what you want it to look like, then reverse engineer the dream by figuring out the steps that you need to take to get what you want. Either you need to engage more and learn how to bring the system down. Remember, when you go into the screen, it's serious overstimulation to feel good from dopamine. So when you go back into your life and there's not that overstimulation and there's humans that actually become stressors because of the screen, you're going to need some more patience. You're going to need to scaffold the amount that you engage by trying more and by being able to stay longer and to exercise that muscle of being connected to other people again and rewarding your brain for doing it. And in the end, you'll get at least closer towards that holiday season that you wanted to create for yourself. Intention, my friend. Think of that. Be really intentional on what you want to create by saying no to some things, by saying yes to others, and by going out and creating what you want. And if other people aren't happy with your decisions, putting your blessing on them like I do. I call it my love bubble. I get you don't love what I'm doing, but that's okay because I'm doing what I need to do. As long as my needs are healthy, then not going home to see my parents, that's okay. That's okay. And then doing something that makes you to feel good about that, like visiting them last month. All my aligned action is going to make it so I'm going to have a beautiful holiday season with my fam squad, and I hope you do too. So if you're interested in the Holidays Without Porn program, you can get into it. The price is just slashed on the website right now, so you don't need any coupon code. It's going to be like that through the first week of December. You can get into that program. We're going to have the meeting. I believe it's January 2nd, right after the new year, so that we can kind of culminate all the learning from that program and make an action plan moving into the new year to take the momentum that you started during holiday time and build upon it. 100% commitment, tools and strategies to move you forward. So if it feels good, the workshop tab is below, and I'd love to see you in the program. And until next time, control your brain or it'll control you.